Sleep Matters by Tiana Wood.
Okay, so I'm kind of curious, first of all, what's the longest that anyone in here has ever slept? Has anyone ever slept over 12 hours? Okay, how about over 14? 16? 18? 20? Okay, 19? Okay, so 18. Wow. I don't want to know what you had to do to sleep that long, but what's the longest time that anyone has ever gone without sleep? Has anyone ever gone over 36 hours? Okay, how about 40? 42? 45? 48? 50? Okay, yeah, just tell me how long you guys have slept. You?
73.
And you? 2 weeks. Holy cow.
She wins.
Okay.
Holy.
Well, without sleep you will actually die. In the stories that I read of those who intentionally went without sleep, now obviously there are certain cases where this is not, where this doesn't apply. I mean, different people, different strokes for different folks, but for most of the cases that intentionally went without sleep, it appeared they all died within 9 to 11 days of not going to sleep. So you were the exception. Others who had the medical diagnosis of fatal familial insomnia, which is basically where you lose your ability to sleep entirely, for them, their cases usually ended within 9 months. They died from not being able to sleep. The information that you hear today, whether it's new or whether it's a refresher, will hopefully just be able to help you determine what you need to do to get the best quality sleep that you can, because everybody's needs are different. But sleep is vital to your life, and sleep is also vital to helping you to be able to do the best that you can, whether it's in your work or your studies. And you know, I mean, just try not getting enough sleep or going without sleep right before a job interview or something, or before finals week. You're not going to do very well. And the reason why I chose to share this information is because of my experience with getting quality sleep has improved my life, has improved my ability to function, my ability to do better in life. And as I said in my last speech, as students, we need to kind of find what will help us if we can, especially something that takes such a little effort. I mean, sleeping is pretty effortless. So the hours that you sleep and the time that you go to bed, the surroundings that you wake up in, all make a really big difference in your quality of sleep, your energy level for the next day, for the next week. And so because sleep is such a broad topic, I decided to just kind of hone in on a couple points. The important effects of sleep, how midnight makes the difference, and what the sun's job is when you're sleeping. Let's look at some of the effects that sleep has, and on the flip side, some of the effects that not sleeping has. Sleep is a time when your body fully relaxes. Unlike preconceived ideas out there that you think your brain totally shuts down, it doesn't. While you're sleeping, your brain actually goes to work. It starts cleaning house. It starts going through the day's events, the memories, the things that you learn, the bits of information from work, from school, from recreation. If you learn how to play basketball, it's going through all of those things and filing them away. And that's where dreaming comes in, because as it's filing, you know, it's pulling things, just like when you're filing stuff, you run out of space, you have to pull things out to put it in. All of those pictures start flashing through your mind. Your mind starts to weave it into a story, but that's another topic for another time. But so your brain is actively going throughout the evening, but it's the time when your body, the systems of the body are able to regenerate and start to repair for the next day. And this quote from the University of Michigan, we'll see if this works. Yeah. Okay, never mind. We'll see. This quote says, sleep maintains your circadian rhythms, the light-dependent 24-hour cycle that regulates your body and mind. It restores your body functions and strengthens your immune system. It also helps you to remember what you learn and prepares you for your next challenge. So it kind of sums it up as to what exactly sleep does. And going without sleep is another story. Your brain keeps tally on how many hours you sleep, how many hours you go without, how many minutes you go without. So the next night it starts to go back over what you missed and starts to make up for that. That doesn't mean that if you miss 5 hours, it has to replace all 5 hours. It means that it goes through all the 4 stages of sleep. There's certain aspects to each one that are vital, and so it takes from those it knows exactly what it needs out of those 5 hours that you missed, and it begins to work on cleaning up that deficit the next night that you give it the chance to sleep. And that mainly revolves around your REM sleep. However, just because your body has the ability to keep tabs on how many hours you sleep and has the ability to make up for it, that doesn't mean the deficit is no big deal, or that you can just say, oh, I'll make up for it later, because it is a big deal. In fact, the next quote from University of Pennsylvania says, sleep deficit built up over just 5 nights can significantly stress your heart. So there are bad effects from stressing your mind, stressing your body from the deficit that you make up. And whenever you have a deficit, I believe it's within a week that you need to try to make up for that. Now, have any of you ever thought that midnight might make a difference? The quote that I'm about to show you has been the basis of many studies when it comes to whether midnight makes a difference in sleep studies. And some of you said in your survey that you notice a difference if you go to bed before midnight versus after midnight. Personally speaking, if I go to bed right before or after midnight, I'm toast the next day and the next day after that. And I am a night person, I'm not a morning person, but something about going to bed around midnight or after. If I go to bed even at 2 a.m. and get up at 10 a.m., I am more exhausted for the next couple of days than if I had just gone to bed at 9 p.m. and gotten up at 4. Now, I don't like 4, but and I might need to take a nap later in the day, but it's not the same as the exhaustion that I have and the brain fatigue that I have for the next couple of days. And so, the quote here says, sleep is worth far more before than after midnight. 2 hours of good sleep before 12 o'clock is worth more than 4 hours after 12 o'clock. So the hours that you spend, if you go to bed at 9, those hours before midnight are worth double than, double the hours after midnight. So it's kind of crazy. Midnight, matters more than we think. And in one study that was done with over 15,000 adolescents, they did a study with those whose parent-mandated bedtimes were at midnight or after midnight, and those versus those whose bedtimes were before 10 o'clock p.m. And the results showed that those who went to bed after midnight were 24% more likely to suffer from depression, 20% more likely to consider suicide. It may not seem like a really big deal, but the point is in a lot of aspects of sleep, sleep is more important than we chalk it up to be. It affects a lot of different areas. And so lastly, I want to show you the biology between the sun and your sleep. The bright morning light tweaks the circadian clock by activating light-sensitive retinal proteins. These proteins control the circadian clock by triggering signals to the brain's suprachiasmatic nucleus. Now, I was going to show you guys today, I was going to bring a brain to show you guys, a plastic brain, to show you guys where that suprachiasmatic nucleus is. But basically, in short, it goes through the eyes. It hits this little tiny, like pea-sized nucleus in your brain, and it starts to turn off your melatonin and turn on your arousal system so that you begin to wake up more naturally. So next time that you have to get up early in the morning, if you can at all try to get up with the sun, you'll find that it's usually a lot easier because it turns off your melatonin. You're not fighting your body for that sleep that it wants. So today we kind of learned, how sleep maintains the circadian rhythms, it restores the body functions, it strengthens your immune system, how midnight does make a difference. Every hour before midnight is worth double, and those who get to sleep before 10 have a less likely chance of being depressed or considering suicide, and that the sun does affect how you wake up and makes it easier for waking up. So next time you think about skipping out on sleep, just remember that sleep does matter. Is there any questions? Mm-hmm.
Have you found your magic sleep number, like how many hours of sleep you need in a night?
I haven't found my number necessarily, but I find that I do better around 9 hours.
Mm-hmm. When you did your research on the Midnight Matters thing, did it say anything about people who have to work graveyard, whether or not they suffer more negative effects?
They do suffer more negative effects. I couldn't quote anything, but I do remember learning that those who suffer graveyard, they end up having far more problems, and they're trying to teach employers how to work it so that when they have to switch shifts, those who have to switch shifts all the time, if they give them 3 weeks on a certain shift, and then 3 weeks on another, it makes it easier than if they're changing it every week, because the body gets used to it, and as you near closer to the next change, you give your body the chance to, you start sleeping earlier and things like that. So it does affect it really bad, but I couldn't give you the information on it. Anybody else? Mm-hmm.
I know you were also mentioning about REM sleep, but I don't know if I was hearing you mentioning about non-REM. Like, do you know the differences between the two?
Yeah, there's 4 stages of sleep, and REM is only one of them. There's stage 1, 2, 3, and then 3 and 4 are actually kind of together, and then there's REM. So the different stages, REM is your, I should say, stage 3 and 4 are your deeper sleeps, and so like if someone tries to wake you up when you're in stage 3 and 4, forget it. It's like trying to jump 6 feet, you know, when you're waking up. It's near impossible. But then when you're in REM sleep, that's when you're dreaming. That's your only dreaming state, and it makes it easier to wake up during REM sleep because it's closest to the waking state as far as your brain waves. Mm-hmm.
What about those people, like, I'm a really light sleeper, so if somebody, like, cracks the door and I'll wake up, even in, like, those deep sleeps, like, it could be, like, whatever, like, I'll wake up.
Yeah, that's usually stage 1. Some of stage 2 and REM are all your lighter, more easily awakened sleeps. REM is the closest to the waking state, but stage 1 is just when you're kind of under, you're not awake, but you're not fully asleep. Stage 2 is where you're pretty light. That's where things start to, you're technically asleep at stage 2. But yeah, you just may end up spending more time in stage 2 and REM sleep, which happens as the night progresses. You end up sleeping more in stage 2 and REM, because if you think of a graph, it goes, an average night goes from 1, 2, 3, 4 REM, it goes up to REM, and then goes 1, 2, 3, and then 2 REM, and then sometimes it'll go down, but usually it'll just go 2 REM, 2 REM, 2 REM, all the rest of the night. So if you're in stage 2 and REM, you're going to be more easily awakened.
Isn't it better for your body to wake up naturally rather than to an alarm clock?
Yeah, that's why, if at all possible, if you just find that somehow, some way you can wake up after this, right as the sun's rising or after the sun has risen, you'll find you probably won't need an alarm clock unless you're used to sleeping till 12, and then you've got a problem. But that's just a habit that you have to fix.
So, like, you know, like, over time, you, like, just eventually just wake up just because your body's used to it. Is it, like, unhealthy to be, like, if on the weekends and you wake up at 7 o'clock to go back to bed?
Yeah, it is. I mean, we do it, but you're supposed to keep a regular time all the time, no matter if it's a weekend, a holiday. I mean, how often do we actually listen to that? But it is true. It throws your circadian rhythm off. And so it's better if you can try to wake up at a consistent time. And I find now that I'm in school, I used to wake up at 9 or 10 in the morning all the time and go to bed later. But since school, people think I'm crazy, but I go to bed at 9 and I get up at 6. I shut down studying at 9. Like, I look forward to bedtime so much because I'm like, yes, I don't have to study anymore. But I find now that even on weekends and stuff, and even when I really want to sleep in, like daylight savings time, forget it. I was up at 6:30 and I could not go back to sleep. And it's a good thing, because if you try to force your body to go back to sleep when it's already cut off your melatonin and started your arousing, you're throwing your body off. So, did you have a question?
Oh, no, I got asked.
Okay. Well, I think that's it.